write the book National Gay?
En fait, sorry, in English, yes. Want to. Basically, I've worked in the last 10 years on globalization. How, for European like me, I'm French, how globalization is changing our way of thinking about culture, values. I've done a book called Mainstream on how culture is changing the world and how emerging countries are emerging also with their culture. Then I wrote a book on gay issues, how emerging countries are also emerging with their values. And then I'm publishing, it's already published, but it's going to be in Italian next year, a book how internet is also changing the world and how emerging country emerges as also with their internet.
You've been traveling a lot and have been in numerous universities and plays to write your book and also to explain your book to people in your books. Is there a memory that is dearest to your heart?
It's kind of difficult to answer this question because you will make a choice and this choice will not be very fair to the people you meet, to the story you get, to the time you spend to write. So I will answer it in a different way, saying that everything changes you a little bit. Everything is part of a larger question that at the end makes you probably, I mean, you write because it's the only way, I mean, for me at least, to really understand things. It's like a school, it's like education, it's like learning a new language, it's like discovering new civilization. You do that because first of all you understand things in a better way. Then you try to communicate with the people, and this is why actually what the books are all about. But at the end, I don't think I can answer it saying this is better or worse. This is more the global way of doing things.
Do you think that the world as it is now will be able to completely accept homosexuality?
When you go back just 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you will see how in Italy, in France, in Europe, in the US, things were much difficult than today. So the optimistic way to answer the question will be to say maybe in 30, 40, 50 years things will be better. And also a lot of the situation we have today in India or in some African countries, sometimes in other places where the situation is difficult, it's close that what we had in Europe, let's say in the 20s or the 30s or sometimes in the 50s. So time will be able to change. At the same time, a more pessimistic way to answer the question will be to say things might be more difficult because of some religion, especially Catholicism for one part, but also Islam or Orthodox religion in Russia, for example. And I do think that things are being worse, at least in the Muslim world. So this is I have a mixed feelings to this question.
Have you written this book while you were traveling, or did you just gather notes and wrote it back in France?
I always accumulate information, note, also articles, numbers, statistics. I read a lot of books, and then I stay quiet in France and I write.
What do you want the readers to understand while reading the book Global Gay?
Complexity, how things are not easy to understand and to explain. You don't have the bad guys, let's say Iran or Saudi Arabia, and then the good guy that could be France or the US. Homophobia is very strong in Europe. One of the worst homophobia situation is basically in the US, where in the South you can have extremely harsh attacks against gay. The people that are more homophobic than anyone is quite often the Vatican here in Italy. So Europe is not the side of the good. And then you have in Lebanon, for example, an Arab country, a lot of people that are fighting for gay rights. So things might be more complex than what we think in the beginning. You don't have the European countries that are ahead of the other one, and then the other one that are backyard. At the end, you see how things are moving step by step, and with people fighting everywhere and people being against them everywhere too.
Is there a book that you read when you were younger, like a kid or like a teenager, that inspired you to start writing and write the book that you wrote?
Many books. It's not necessarily a similar book, but it is more like, I don't know, Balzac was a great sociologist in a way, or Zola was a very good analyst, or Proust or Shakespeare. So I'm not, I haven't exactly find the things that I'm doing myself. And of course I don't want to compare anything that I do to famous fiction writers, but everything helps, everything counts.